Alright, today we're going to talk about spinnerbait blades. One of the most common questions that we get when people are first starting to build spinnerbaits has to do with what size blade and what style blade will work best on the spinnerbaits that they're going to build. So I want to kind of touch base today and go over some of the different styles, sizes, shapes, and colors of blades and talk a little bit about which one works best for different conditions. So the first thing we want to talk about is the three different things to take into consideration. There is the size of the blade. You can see here we have a whole different range of sizes going from a little number 3 here all the way up to a size 7 willow blade and a size 7 magnum willow blade. And then over here we're starting with a size 4 Colorado, working our way up through to 5 and 6, and then ultimately a size 7 Colorado blade. And so we have the sizes, and then we have the colors. You can see we have a white here with a little bit of metallic in it. We have a hammered nickel, and we have a smooth polished brass blade. We have hammered copper, and then we have bright painted red. We have fluorescent orange. We have hammered brass. We have another one that's painted red. We have white. This is a Colorado blade in white. We have more polished brass, like I mentioned. And then we have this. This is actually a glow-in-the-dark blade. If I was to turn the lights out right now, you would see that this would glow in the dark. I'll probably do that toward the end of the video just so you can see it. So those are the different colors. So we've covered size and color, and the shape or the style of the blade. As you can see, we have willow blades laid out here, right up through to the magnum willow. Some people might call this a turtleback or turtle shell or tortoise shell style. And then we have the Colorado blades down here in this row. And basically I want to talk about the different considerations and the different factors that will affect why you choose a blade and what that blade will do. So first of all, size. That seems to be the biggest question that we get. What size blades do I put on my spinnerbait? Well, the size will be determined by a few different things. First of all is the weight of the spinnerbait that you're going to build. If you're going to build a large spinnerbait, excuse me, such as a half-ounce bait, then you're going to require larger blades. This is actually a half-ounce pre-painted chartreuse spinnerbait head here. Now a half-ounce bait, what you choose for blades will fully depend upon whether you're going to use one blade with a single spin or two blades with a tandem spin. So you have to remember that the more blade you have, the more water this will move when you pull it through the water. And so if you have a lot of blades and you're pulling it through, if it's too much blade for the bait is going to tend to roll over on its side. And we don't want it to roll over on its side. We want it to stay as close to upright as we can get it. So on a half-ounce spinnerbait, if you're going to do a single spin, I would recommend going with a size 6 blade if you want to have a medium speed retrieve and a good thump from that single blade. You could drop down to a size 5. Personally, I don't do that myself. When I'm throwing a half-ounce size spinnerbait, I'm going to put a size 6 blade on there. That's if I'm doing a single spin. Now, if I'm building a spinnerbait to fish at night, such as this one here, this is actually a bait that's been used already, but this is one that I put together to fish at night. And on that, I have a large number 7 hammered Colorado blade. And the reason that I do that is because I want a blade that will give as much vibration in the water as possible. So this bait will produce a lot of vibration. So if you want to fish a bait slower and produce more vibration, you're not worried about moving the bait so fast, you could go up to a number 7. But just be forewarned that if you go up to a size 7 blade, you're going to have to move that bait very slowly to keep it upright so that it doesn't end up doing this in the water and rolling over and laying on its side. If you drop down to a 3/8 ounce bait, which I don't have any 3/8 ounce heads right here at my disposal, But with 3/8, you're going to want to use a size 5 for a single spin or a size 4, one or the other, again depending on how fast you want to be able to move the bait. Now if you're going to fish a half ounce or build a half ounce tandem spin spinnerbait, I would recommend using either a 4 and 5 together if you're going to use Colorado, or a 3 and a 5. If you use too much, if you go with too big a blade, again, the whole bait is going to turn over on its side. So my personal recommendation and what we recommend to customers is a size 5 on the back and a size 3 up here. And I don't have any size 3 Colorado blades out right now. I apologize for that. I just didn't grab any. The other option is to run a size 5 Colorado on the back and a size 3 willow leaf up front. So you can mix and match the blades, you can mix and match colors. As far as going down smaller to a 1/4 ounce bait, I would definitely recommend, if you're doing a single spin, recommend a number 4 or a number 3 for a single spin Colorado spinnerbait. Tandem willow leaf configurations, these blades don't move as much water, they don't push as much water, so they don't require that you scale down quite as much. If you're going to build a half ounce tandem spin willow leaf spinnerbait, you could easily get away with doing a size 4 and a size 5 blade. Again, with a size 4 and 5, you're going to have to slow the bait down a little bit. You could actually get away with 2 size 4s on there. As far as bait smaller, again, scale it down. A 1/4 ounce bait, if you're going to build a willow leaf, tandem willow leaf bait, I would recommend 2 of the size 4s or a 3 and a 4. And again, you'll have to experiment and see what works best for you based on your style of retrieve and how fast you like to throw the bait and retrieve it. So just remember that when that bait is coming through the water, you want it to be going straight. If you're pulling your spinnerbait back and it's laying over on its side, you've either got a bent wire here, which you need to straighten out, or you've got too much blade on there for the weight of the head. So the next thing that we want to talk about is color. What color blade should you use on your spinnerbait? Well, a lot of that will be determined by the clarity of the water that you're fishing and the overhead light conditions, whether it's cloudy, whether it's bright and sunny. All these things come into play. So if you're going to be fishing in stained water, water that's muddy or just has a natural brown color to it, you're going to want to go with a gold blade, like a polished brass, or one of the gold plated blades that we offer. Stained water, typically, I recommend that people go with a hammered finish, because as the hammered finish moves through the water and as it spins, all these little indentations, they create more vibration, and most importantly, they create more flash. So this coming through the water and this coming through the water will produce more flash than this blade, because this has one solid surface, it has one place that will reflect light, whereas this has been hammered and you have all these dimples that will catch the light and reflect it in the water. So keep that in mind when you're building spinnerbaits for stained water. You want to go with a gold blade, preferably a hammered blade if you're not using paint. If you're using a painted blade, I always recommend that people go with a bright colored blade such as red or white, or even a chartreuse blade, which again, I don't have any chartreuse blades here on the bench, but we have painted chartreuse blades that work really, really, really well in muddy or stained water. So I would recommend those colors. You may even want to try pairing a white blade with a chartreuse blade, or a white blade and a red blade, or a chartreuse blade with a red blade. Again, trial and error can help you learn a lot about what the fish like in a certain lake based on the conditions. You may also want to try bumping up to, you could try a small white blade with a large red willow leaf on the back. I've caught a lot of fish over the years on a spinnerbait with a large red willow leaf off the back of it. And surprisingly enough, sometimes even in semi-clear water, they'll come flying out and slam it just because it's something different. You also want to consider things like clear water. you're going to want to use smaller baits, so a smaller blade in the silver color will be better in clear water. Gold tends to work better in muddy water. Silver tends to work better, or nickel I should say, in clear water. So you might even want to scale back to a small blade such as this with the nickel finish in the clearer water. So using a 3/8 or a 1/4 ounce spinnerbait versus the big 1/2 ounce head. If you have overcast skies and you're fishing a lake that's fairly clear to only slightly stained, once the skies darken up, I would definitely recommend going with the gold colored blade. And because you're not getting the sunlight to reflect on this because it's a cloudy day, you can get away with the smooth blade. The other thing you might want to consider too, again, is using a painted blade such as white, red, or chartreuse. Now, as far as the style or the shape of the blade, here are a few things to consider. The first thing you want to think about is how deep are you going to be fishing this bait. If you're going to be fishing this bait shallow, you can get away with a bigger blade because the bigger blade, like I said, moves more water and tends to lift the bait up in the water as you pull it. So if you're fishing, say, 4 feet of water or less, you can get away with the big Colorado blades. If you're going to be fishing deeper water and you're still, if the water's somewhat stained, you're still going to want to use a Colorado blade, but scale down in your size so you can get the bait down deeper and keep it there. When you start retrieving a bait with a large blade on it, like I said, it's going to slowly pull up in the water column until it gets back up to the surface again. If you're fishing a lake with a lot of weeds, I really don't recommend going with a large Colorado blade such as this. Even if you're fishing a 1/2 ounce spinnerbait, I would encourage you to switch over to something like this, because what happens is when this is coming through the water, this blade here will have a tendency to rotate around this shaft much closer and stay at this angle. Whereas the Colorado blade, because of the nature of the way it's shaped, it will spin outward more and it will stick out. And what happens in that case is that it picks up a lot more weeds and you end up having to spend more time pulling weeds off your bait, and it gets frustrating after a while. So remember to use that willow style blade such as this if you're going to be fishing in weedy water. Low light conditions or very stained water will call for the Colorado blade once again because it gives off more vibration. You always want to make sure you're taking advantage of the fact that the fish have what's called a lateral line, which is a set of nerves that will detect vibration in the water. So if it's low light or if it's stained water, always opt to go with the Colorado blades. If you plan on making spinnerbaits for fishing at night, the only blade that I recommend using is a Colorado blade. Again, because of the high vibration or the large amount of vibration that these blades put out, I recommend using a large, for example, on a 1/2 ounce bait, I would use a number 6, or even possibly, as I said with this old bait, a number 7 blade. And you can see that this blade is well tarnished, and I actually prefer that, so I don't buy the high polished, as far as with the spinnerbaits that I build for nighttime, I don't use the highly polished blades, the premium finish blades, because I want the blade to dull up for night fishing because I don't want it to be reflecting light the way it would do during the daytime. So again, a number 6 or number 7 Colorado blade for night fishing, and that will help you catch more fish if you fish after dark. So that covers the basics and some little details here and there when it comes to picking out the right blades for your spinnerbaits. We will be putting a size chart up on the website so that you can accurately pick the blade size that you want for the size of the spinnerbait that you're building. It will help you to decide what you need to order, and we hope that will help you out. If you have any other questions, feel free to hit us up on our website at lureparts.com, and we'll be glad to help you out. Thank you.